listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I am one half of your hellish host duo, Barnabas.
And I am the remaining 50%, Samael. Welcome to episode 96, In Control.
In control of what, you may ask, or who?
Of every situation in their life, because they're a sociopath.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Leigh Whannell's new modern adaptation of The Invisible Man.
We just got done seeing it over the weekend. We've heard a lot of good things, and later on in the show, we will state whether we agree with those things or disagree, but spoiler alert, we didn't hate the movie.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot more about it because we have a lot of thoughts. It's going to be hard not to spoil it, but it was a cool movie. We're going to give you guys everything you could possibly want on The Invisible Man in our main segment. But first, a special shout out to our gracious host network, Sports Radio Detroit.
And you can find Sports Radio Detroit on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search up SRD Sports Radio Detroit. That's SRD Sports Radio Detroit. And you can also check out sportsradiodetroit.com. Check out some cool merch there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's a cool little thing going on with Fanatics. And it's for Detroit-based sports merchandise. So if you're into that, go check it out and buy some stuff. Now, it has been a little longer than usual since our last episode. We do apologize for that. The weather was shit because it's horrible. Michigan.
Like, dude, people can't say global warming and climate change isn't real when, like, dude, the whole winter, it's been fine. And then just, was it like 2 weeks ago, they're just like, hey, I know I've been lacking, says the winter time, but here's 6 inches of snow, and then 2 days later, we'll give you another 2, and we'll call it even, right? That's enough snow for the winter?
Just fuck you right in the face, basically, is what the weather said. And now it's almost spring.
It is almost spring. It's March by the time you're hearing this.
Yeah, and I mean, it did look very nice outside when I was leaving work. So.
Hey, Saturday, time's going to change too.
Oh.
So we're going to lose an hour of sleep on Saturday.
Great.
So you can sleep an extra 2 hours since it's Saturday.
Why sleep when you're dead?
Why?
That's my philosophy.
Die when you can sleep.
Exactly.
Sleeping is like dying, but only temporarily.
Well, speaking of none of that, let's get a move on with the news here, guys. As we said, there has been a lot of it. We have not been able to fit all of the crazy announcements and things into this one episode, but the first one is an interesting one. Ish. I mean, if you're a fan of 2009's Orphan,
really good movie,
it was, then you may or may not be interested in it. I think there is some interest to be had in this announcement just because it's kind of its own thing. It's not like, some big franchise or anything like that. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but there is a sequel in the works, or rather,
a prequel. Which is how every franchise makes a sequel nowadays, and I'm getting sick of it. That's why I'm not excited. And on top of it, it's called, I don't know what it's called, but
Esther.
it's gonna, Esther, and it's gonna be her background, and which I don't really care about. The great thing about Orphan was you didn't know what the fuck was going on until now that we're kind of in on it, and we just watch the people struggle to solve the mystery or whatever the fuck's gonna happen in this movie. We're just gonna be screaming at the TV like, come on, it's obvious that insert whatever is going on in this blank here. And I don't know, man, I'm just not too excited. I'm never excited about prequels, I'm not gonna lie. I hate prequels.
That's fair. Yeah, it's gonna be a little weird because Isabel Fuhrman, I don't know how to say her last name, is obviously way older now. She's like, probably at least 3 feet taller than she was in Orphan. So obviously she's out unless they like hobble her or something. I don't know. So they can't use her. They're going to have to use a different actress. and it's a prequel, so it's going to show her as, you know, an adult doing her thing, probably slipping into the whole kind of, hey, I'm like your child, but not really thing.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Some things, if you really feel like you have to explore the backstory, I think most things you could do like a book or like a comic or something like that.
I think it should just, like, we don't need a backstory. It should just be briefly touched upon just to add some sort of mystique to the character. Like, it kind of ruins, like, the whole movie if you're like, hey, this is why this is like this. Like, you hold their hand throughout every explanation. And I'm not cool with that, man. Just not so much, man. Just not so fucking much. Like, stop with the explanations. We don't care. We just want an idea, and then our imagination takes it and runs off with it, and that's the scary part.
Yeah, I mean, the original is kind of perfect because, you know, the whole twist actually was a twist if you weren't spoiled to it. And you were like, oh shit, she's really 33 years old or whatever. And that was cool. Just end it there, you know. That's pretty much what you've got. And that's it.
I thought after Halloween 2 came out in 1980 something, the sequel to Halloween 1, people would have learned, like, explaining everything kind of ruins it, because in the first one, he's the boogeyman. He's after these babysitters on Halloween night, and Halloween means something because the boogeyman's after them on that day, and then the second one's like, that's his sister, and he's trying to kill her, and see what happens when you ruin it? We got an idea, and after the first one ends, Michael's still alive. He gets up and walks away, and we're supposed to think, oh, he's still out there somewhere. We might run into him, ha ha ha. But then, when you explain everything in the second one, it's like, well, I'm not part of his family, so there goes the scariness.
Agreed. Well, speaking of things that we don't need, this next one, guys, if you're interested in Esther, there's going to be more info, but that's about it for now. But this next one is probably going to get some people riled up. Basically, Sci-Fi, who is in charge of the new Chucky show, is ordering up a new Day of the Dead series that will take viewers back to the first 24 hours of the undead invasion.
For why?
Who the fuck knows?
Hey, what if, right, we make another Alien movie and we show what happens between Alien and the sequel and the backstory? We just add all that in there.
Like, bro, stop with these weird ideas.
Yeah.
All right, let's take this old series, right? But we'll explain what happens at this moment in time. It's like Star Wars comic books and cartoons. It's like, just come on.
It basically, I don't like this either because of that. Like, if you're gonna make a zombie movie at this point, make it something a little bit more unique, because the tropey stuff, the same kind of thing. Like, well, this is the zombie apocalypse beginning, and here's what happens with this group of people, and it's always the same type of shit. And this kind of sounds like the same type of shit as well, and people are just kind of sick and tired of it. This pretty much sounds like the first, few episodes of the Walking Dead series, which at the time, sure, it was pretty cool, because people loved the comics, they wanted to see all that and stuff. But now we've already kind of experienced that. If you just take us through the same thing, I don't know. And it doesn't even seem like it really has much to do with the movie. I mean, the movie was set like way, not way in the future, but sometime after like Night of the Living Dead, and then Dawn of the Dead, and this doesn't even sound like it's doing that. It's going back to the first 24 hours. I don't know. And then considering that it's a series, I think it's just going to feel super like dragged out.
I think so too. I think with me, it's just that I'm not going to watch this, not because I don't love George Romero. I love him, but I am sick of, and I'm going to change this quote because I changed my mind on it. I'm sick of new zombie movies. Okay. I'm not sick of zombie movies because we watched Return of the Living Dead a few weeks ago, and that was my first time, watching it because I didn't want to deal with zombie shit, and it's automatically now in my top 5 favorite horror movies of all time.
Yeah, it's really good. Like I said, that one's unique. It's even meta.
Perfect.
It's perfect. I like some newer zombie movies, but there hasn't really been one that's like really stood out to me. Maybe the movie that we're going to be talking about next.
Yeah,
a little bit, but
I still have to watch Train to Busan.
Yes. Well, there's going to be a sequel to that coming out, as most of you may know, but I want to elaborate on that in just a moment. The Day of the Dead series is going to be coming out. We don't know a whole lot more, but I did want to end by saying that apparently George Romero's estate is not into it.
Really?
Yeah, they are disowning it, basically. So, yeah, that's not a good sign.
And people, well, now it's non-canon.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Probably. I mean, that's probably what's going to be. So, speaking of Train to Busan, however, that's one that I've really enjoyed over the past few years. And, I think it's more than just a zombie movie, which helps. But that's got a new sequel coming out called Peninsula. And again, I kind of have to correct myself with sequel because they did kind of confirm it's not really a sequel.
It's just in the same universe. So, same place, just somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit bigger in scope, so it's not just going to be confined to the train, which could be interesting. But then again, you're going into that territory of the typical zombie apocalypse type of thing. And so if you don't make it a little interesting, then I think people might lose interest in it. A big part of why people like the first one too is because it's really emotionally heavy writing and stuff in it, and this good kind of drama between the characters and whatnot. So I expect this to kind of have those same elements.
Hopefully, bro, then I'll probably be invested in both movies and more so have a higher interest in the second movie once I watch the first one.
Yeah, you really should watch the first one ASAP because, I mean, yeah, it's zombies, they're fast zombies or whatever, but it's pretty gory, it's pretty devastating, I would say.
Is it visceral?
It's pretty visceral.
Yes, I love visceral.
It's a good word, yeah.
Those are the best.
Yeah. So, guys, let's move on to some trailers here. Keep your eye out for Peninsula. That one's going to be coming out pretty soon.
By the way, we should go see this first one. I'm already going to spoil how I feel about it.
Yeah, it looks pretty dope. So the first movie is something that we actually mentioned really recently, and it's the new Jeffrey Dean Morgan thriller called The Postcard Killings.
So he's basically like a detective of sorts, and there's these postcards that get sent whenever some killings happen, and they're literally everywhere. So this dude's trying to make the connection. Other people are on the case, and he's telling him, yo, if you can't figure this out, I'm gonna fucking figure this shit out, you fucking pussy. Mm-hmm. And then he tries to get into it, and then you just see him crying in someone's arms in the back of a car, and the trailer doesn't really reveal too much, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
I mean, I know what's going on, but I don't know what happens. That trailer showed so many scenes but gave away nothing.
Agreed. Yeah, I like the whole aspect of him having to go to these different places where the postcards came from and investigating and things like that. At least that's what it seemed like. That's pretty cool because it means that we're going to get a lot of really nice locations and probably some nice shots, and it really just looks like Zodiac basically to me.
Yeah,
that same type of vibe. So
I was gonna say I had some Seven vibes.
Yeah, I mean, those types of crime thrillers, true crime thrillers,
those are
really good. If they're done well.
Oh yeah,
I would say a lot of them definitely have a similar type of tone to them, but it's really about getting invested in the characters. And then also the mystery of what's happening. This one seems like it's going to have a pretty good mystery and really good performances. So, I mean, that's all I pretty much need,
Yes.
And if it's suspenseful too, I mean, that's important. So that one's coming out March 13th in theaters, I presume. So actually really soon, next week, if you're listening to this on the weekend. So go check it out. Next up is another pretty cool one. Coming out May 8th in theaters called Run.
Yeah, and it looks like, I'm going to guess the synopsis of it. This girl gets switched out at birth or something, or stolen because this lady's baby died from being premature. That's what it seems like. It seems like that's what they're hinting at.
Yeah.
This chick's mother's acting weird. When she tries to use the Wi-Fi to Google her mom, quote unquote mom, I guess. Her mom is at the end of the hallway, turns off the Wi-Fi, and she's just staring at her what the fuck?
I'd be like, Mom, why'd you turn off the Wi-Fi?
God damn it, Mom!
I was almost level 99.
Just start beating her with a pine cone.
No, but it kind of seems like there's going to be some psychological horror and her not, really knowing if she's who she says she is and stuff like that. But I wasn't able to quite grasp like how she got her, because she was looking at her in the hospital basically when she was just born. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck happens, but it looks pretty interesting. Sarah Paulson is the mom, who you may know from American Horror Story, like every fucking season basically.
Yeah.
And she pulls off the crazy thing really well. So I mean, I have no doubt that she's going to be awesome. I do kind of want to know who she is. Like, if it'd be cool if there was some kind of weird thing instead of just oh, she's an escaped mental patient who's pretending to be a mom or something like that.
Or she's been dead for years and this is all in her head.
Ugh, that would be the worst. That's too typical, man.
Like, that's just like fucking The Abandoned, and then what is it, Dead End, and then what other movies are like that?
That's like a ton, man. I mean,
Ghost Stories.
Yeah. Obviously, The Sixth Sense. Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
If you didn't know. God, there was a time where if you told somebody that, they'd be like, what?
There's still people like that.
I know.
I remember on The Horror Everything, I said, like, the Black Christmas movie sucked because of the supernatural element. And then some guy was like, way to spoil it. And like, how?
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't tell you anything. I guess just because there was no supernatural stuff in the... Anyway. But Run looks pretty cool. It looks like it's going to have some intense kind of sequences to it. Probably a lot of twists as well. So that one's coming out May 8th. And finally, definitely the biggest one this week.
Yep. And
has been the most talked about. The Jordan Peele produced and Nia DaCosta directed Candyman.
Yep. And from the trailer, looks good. I don't like the small peeks I saw of Candyman's getup. They were just small flashes, so I couldn't really make it out. But not gonna lie, the movie looks shot well, but I just don't like his voice.
Okay,
it's not scary.
That's fair. See,
it seems like it's being read.
Okay, I wasn't able to see it with sound, unfortunately, because I just watched it at work, I think, one day. But I mean, so from the visual aspect, I do think it looks well shot. I think the visuals are going to be good. There's almost a type of like body horror element to it, because the main guy at least appears to be turning into Candyman himself, which I think is a cool concept.
Yeah. It's completely different from the original.
Yeah, it like they said, even it's supposed to be more of like a spiritual sequel almost. So you're probably going to get a little bit of Tony Todd as Candyman, but maybe just in those reflections. Like, other than that, he's not really going to be in the movie per se.
Or he might just show up as like an unrelated character to the thing.
Like a cameo.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. I mean, I hope so. Either him or the actress as well. I'm blanking on her name, but who was in the original film. If she made an appearance, I mean, that would be cool as well. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, it does look sweet. I think really it's just going to depend on if it can deliver like the scare factor, because other than that, I think it definitely looks promising. So that's it for the trailers. Candyman is coming out June 12th in theaters if you guys are interested in checking that one out. And then I did just write down a couple other things because, like I said, there's been a lot.
Oh yeah, we can mention these. Paranormal Activity
we
has
don't
a
have
new
to
movie.
go into them. Yeah, big whoop.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs show cast Clarice. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the scare package or the other lamb, but I saw Psycho Goreman trailer.
Yeah,
that one looks sick.
It does.
I think I'm gonna enjoy that one.
That's from the same guy who did The Void. Which
is it?
Yeah. Which I know is like it's completely tonally different, but it's still got the sick practical effects, and this one just looks like a blast. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. Scare package looks kind of cool too. It's like another retro anthology type of thing.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. And then the other lamb is like some cult shit, but it's a Polish director actually, so I'm kind of interested in that. But that's pretty much it for the news here, guys. We are now going to move into our next and main segment where we're going to be discussing The Invisible Man. But first, a few words from some other SRD shows. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jason Pinkett from Pucking Around and Spinning the Wheels on Sports Radio Detroit. Check us out every Sunday over on the SRD Hockey feed on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. That's SRD Hockey in your search bar. New episodes every week.
Hi, this is Chris.
And this is Roger.
And if you like Tigers baseball, Major League Baseball, Minor League Baseball, analytics, pop culture references, movies, sports, food, check us out. Look for Tigers SRD on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify.
Welcome back, Fiends, to another main segment of Grave Discussions. And on today's episode, we are going to be turning the other cheek and becoming invisible, and we're going to be talking about the Invisible Man.
Yes. So far, I'm just going to give my opinions right now. So far, my favorite okay, this one's in my only two of 2020 that I liked.
Okay.
This and Color Out of Space.
Underwater. Maybe. Okay. But but not like top two.
No.
I understand. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as you, basically.
It was good. It was really
We're going to have to try not to give any big spoilers or anything, because there are things in the movie that are pretty, twisty turny, I would say, that don't show up in the trailer, thank God.
Yeah.
And there really is a lot more to the movie than the trailers give you. I think they do set the tone pretty well, but the movie is really a different animal. And yeah, we just can't say certain things, but we're going to try to beat around the bush as much as possible. But ultimately, for me, I did really enjoy it. I think Leigh Whannell did a great job adapting this classic monster and really kind of making it its own brand new kind of thing, which I think is why it succeeded.
It wouldn't be normal having just a scientist in 2020 like, man, I'm invisible, see? And if you don't give me a room to stand, see, I'm gonna blow your goddamn brains out, see?
Yeah, that was definitely like, for the times back in 1933, but we can't have that now. There were some homages to that movie, as you might expect, which was dope, but this movie utilized the setting and the time, I think, really well, and definitely felt like a sci-fi horror movie, which is great.
Don't spoil it too much. Don't call it
Not
sci-fi.
gonna spoil it too much. I mean, even the original, had that type of vibe to it. So I don't think you're gonna completely, see what's coming or anything, but there are some really unique and well thought out elements. I'll just say that much.
I guessed everything that was gonna happen. You remember I said that thing?
Oh yeah. I mean,
I'm pretty sure you figured it out right then as well.
I definitely had a feeling, and it wasn't like disappointing that you were able to kind of guess what was coming.
No,
because I think the story was still really compelling. And if you guys are not super familiar with the story, we'll just give you a brief synopsis so you can catch up. But basically, Elizabeth Moss plays Cecilia Cass, who is trying to leave her boyfriend, who has been like really abusive to her. Like, you can kind of tell that he's like a dickhead. And after his apparent suicide, she gets this huge inheritance of like all his money, but she thinks that she's getting stalked by him and that he is invisible. And that's really where the movie goes from and where it shines. And pretty much right from the beginning, it just starts going down, which is nice.
Yeah, I don't like movies that take too long. Like, right off the bat, at the beginning, I'll just say this. You don't get an insight in their relationship or anything. You just see her trying to, like, sneak out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And you eventually figure out, because of what's been told of the Invisible Man, that she's going to try to leave her abusive boyfriend.
Yeah. It's really smart, I think, how they did it, actually, because, a lot of movies have that, like, set up and kind of establishing who people are and what's sort of happening, which I think is fine depending on the context. But for this one, it really works because you're sort of led to think like, wait, is something really going on, or is it like in her head? Has all of this, impacted her to the point where she's like not actually rational and lucid?
Yeah, and that's what it seemed like they were trying to. Obviously, he was trying to make her out like that, so that he could just do whatever, as apparent where she ended up temporarily.
Yeah.
You can guess. he really got in her head in the sense that she couldn't explain what was going on without seeming like she's having some sort of delusions due to her traumatic experience.
Yeah, and that's why I think it was perfect that they didn't go into anything, because then you're left questioning, like, you don't have evidence.
Yeah.
And that was like a whole big thing about this movie, is like, you can't actually see what she's describing. No. So how are you supposed to believe her?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone told me that, I'd be like, yo, listen, you were getting the shit beat out of you.
Yeah.
You had to run away. Then he died. So you're obviously going through some shit right now.
Yeah.
Some very confusing shit. So it's understandable why you'd be going crazy and seeing things and you think he's still alive and he's invisible. Like, that's not how reality works. But little do they know.
Yeah, little do they know. And, well, we won't say anything, obviously, but there are definitely hints as to kind of what's really going on. And that, you kind of can follow her along in this entire journey. And it's a really stressful, traumatic journey, I think, if you put yourself in her shoes. So I think it really works the way that they wrote this movie, to not actually give you any insight and to really just experience these things as she's experiencing them and trying to recover from the trauma that she went through. And yeah, I mean, that's just the big thing, is like paranoia. You can let it control your life or not, but it's not, exactly healthy.
But in this movie, it kind of shows like, hey, being a little too paranoid and thinking outside the box is a good thing, because you might just be right.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you know who you are, and like what you deserve. And I mean, like it or not, you probably know your abuser really well too. So even though you might not have the strength to, get over it at the time, that's another thing that it plays with, is her, kind of finding that strength and finding the courage to kind of overcome what she's going through and everything like that, which I think it does well. It doesn't like drill into that, it's not like this one big melodramatic character study or development or anything like that, but I mean, she definitely still evolves throughout the story, which is good. But
I mean, by the end, she's completely different.
Yeah, which we won't spoil or anything, but you'll see what you guys mean. I think you guys will kind of enjoy it.
She's a gangster, basically.
Yeah. But speaking of the actual things that are happening, I thought that was probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, is just how they handled all the actual like Invisible Man stuff. I thought it was awesome.
I think it was great. For a lot of like old movies, this is how a remake is done, right? Because for a lot of older movies that are being remade, even like not so old movies that are being remade, like fucking The Grudge, like why? It's just hard to like pick a new direction with it that people will be like, okay, yeah, this is would be a good story to do modern day. Because The Grudge was just the same thing. It was ass. Like, it was the same story, just somewhere else. I mean, you can't just remake or reboot and then you're just like, here you go, same shit. There has to be something different when you're remaking or rebooting a series. You can't just run back to like its nostalgic roots just for like fucking nostalgia points from like all the dick suckers that love the movie, they will just suck the movie's dick dry. You know what I mean? Like, I love that fucking movie. That's what I mean by dick suckers. Like, they will literally like defend the movie with their whole heart. Now, those are the people that you got to make this movie for, because once they start saying it's good, then everybody else will be like, oh, that's good. Because if everyone else likes it but they hate it, they're gonna be like, yeah, on that hipster shit. So you have to appeal to like the true diehard horror fan, or at least like think in the same nature of the diehard horror fan when you're making this and you're trying to make this new story and trying to make it seem coherent and realistic. And even if it's not realistic, have like some suspense and like some good lighting. I mean, that's all we really look for in these movies. I'm not looking to be moved by some social satire. I'm looking to be entertained and kind of pulled out of reality as movies intended. I'm not trying to like sit there and be like, well, this is this is that. This movie, while it was like one of those like woke movies, did not seem like it because it wasn't like Black Christmas shoved down your throat. Everything that was important was displayed through action or through like reaction, specifically hers, and actions specifically being, the crazy person. and that's supposed to represent like, I don't want to say authority figure, but that's what this movie more seems like, rather than like, it's trying to be like, yo, most authority figures are abusers. It's not just about like, abusive relationships. I think it's even deeper than that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it plays on the entire spectrum of that topic, and like I was telling you while we were leaving the theater, I was like, it talked about abuse and emotional abuse and how people can control you even if they're not around, but it didn't feel like it really pushed it on you, or that that it's the focus of that thing detracted from like the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie really is what kind of elevated that.
It was great,
and made it seem like, oh, this isn't something that you have to focus on, but this is what's happening in the movie, and you can kind of just form your own type of dialogue on that topic from the movie, which is really good.
The movie had such a good script, but also like the pacing was so good, and everything was so well done. I did not even I didn't want to get out my seat because I got super comfortable. I wasn't looking at my watch like, damn, when's this gonna be over? It did not feel like a 2-hour movie. No,
I think the actual time was perfect. I think the whole like scene to scene, just flow, natural kind of vibe of the movie was great.
This is definitely like, for me, a 5 out of 5 movie. This is a A+ movie for me.
Yeah. No, it ramped up like the tension just a little bit every, however many minutes, like every big scene that it went up to. And I think that it's perfect for this movie because, you at the beginning, you're really still kind of questioning like what's going on. Is he actually following her? Is he like there with her at all times? That kind of thing.
And the paint can will answer your question.
Oh yeah. That's where it got really nuts.
I fucking leaped. Bro, there's one jump scare in this movie.
Well,
one really big one.
Yeah.
It was that, I'm just gonna do it. And that's the first time I've got hit with a jump scare. The last time I got hit with a jump scare is when I watched Alien.
You know what's good too though? Yeah, I know. And that one you didn't really like see coming so much. I think in The Invisible Man, you could kind of tell like something was gonna happen.
Yeah.
In not only in the scene that we're kind of hinting at, but also there was a scene, I'll just say outside a little bit later on, and the car, you might know, but anyway, I jumped like a little bit on that scene.
Yeah, I know.
But I think both of those were done good. Like you could tell, like, okay, there's probably gonna be a jump scare. Oh shit!
Yeah.
And then it came kind of. It kind of came anyway, and you were scared. Anyway.
By the time you realize it's getting set up for a jump scare is when it happens.
Yeah.
It's not like there's someone like they hear a noise, they open a door, they see a closet door slightly open. Tense music, slowly opening the door. They swing it open, nothing.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they turn around and it's right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. The actual scares were done really well. They were effective. The tension and the suspense steadily built up perfectly. And it was consistent, which is good. There was never really a point where I felt like they were just like fucking around and treating like the fans like, they were dummies and and like
there was no hand holding in this movie.
No. And I think that, and they catered it to everybody. It wasn't just like, here you go, you 80s slasher fanboys, or here you go, you
this was definitely
elevated horror fans.
This was definitely like, this is like the Hollywood horror movie right now. Like this is the big one, I think.
I agree.
At least so far. Like, of course there's The Turning, and then we got Antlers next, which I'm most excited for. But this one, bro, like for being a Hollywood horror movie, this one was awesome. It was fucking cinematic as shit too, bro. Like,
it was, and I was going to talk about that, but it kind of ties in. I just think they did a really good job of making it so stress-inducing and anxiety-ridden
and good-looking
the entire time, and visually really pleasing. And that's another thing. I think the cinematography was awesome.
The cooking scene, that camera angle, that's single shot, just no movement, no nothing, just like a home video shot. It reminded me of Sinister.
Kind of, yeah, same for me. I really liked it because there were actually a few of those type of shots and scenes.
There were.
And without really giving a whole ton away, they really used these locations very well because they used kind of the whole space and just made it just like really tense just by just with a still shot of that one place, because you're like, is something gonna happen like over here or over there? Like, is he in the room? Is he gonna like move something around?
And something subtly just happens.
Yeah. So you're like, you just have this one still frame. Maybe it's pushing in or something.
That was effective as shit, man.
You know, and then something happens, and I think they use like that negative space to really push the whole invisible thing.
Yeah.
Super well, and that was great.
Fucking geniuses, bro.
Yeah.
This was Blumhouse.
This was Leigh Whannell.
See what happens when Blumhouse doesn't make like fun movie like Truth or Dare and Fantasy Island.
I told you they just gotta have some like good directors on.
They just need to have someone
in.
in the back smoking a crack rock at all times so they can come up with ideas.
That's probably what happened with The Invisible Man. Yes.
This was great. You remember when we first announced this on the news? Mm-hmm. We've been following this since like it's been announced.
Yeah.
And since I did my first watch of The Invisible Man.
It's good. I mean, I think the original is like a super underrated Universal monster. You know, still a classic, but kind of underrated in comparison. But this one really showing up. I mean, if this is going to be like the standard for the Dark Universe stuff like coming up, I think we're in for a good time. This one was super effective, really intense, you know, actually scary at times, which I didn't quite expect from The Invisible Man. I was like, okay, I think they're going to do a good job with this whole like, you know, invisible, abusive X type thing, but...
And there's twists. There's a lot of twists.
Good twists, too. I mean, yeah, again, we kind of knew that something to that effect was coming up and happening, but...
Basically, halfway through the movie... We both, like, I turned over to Barnabas and I told him something. Because I know we noticed something that happened in the movie that was kind of like, hey, wait a minute. If this is there, then who's the... You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're just like, huh. And then that hits you. You're like, oh, there's literally no other explanation. And if there is, that would be stupid.
Yeah, and I didn't hate that, you know, I was right.
Yeah, I knew it, bro. I think we've just seen too many movies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, as
we should be like fucking... We should be detectives, you know, just figure out murder cases.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to watch a lot more movies, but at this point, I think I'd have a good handle on it.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, you know, it's not like... I think if you have the mind for it, for sure, you can be like, you know, this seems like the logical kind of step to take it in, considering everything else that we've seen in the movie. So, I don't think people will be too confused about it or anything either, which is good, because... You got some Hereditary type shit, and then everybody's like, this movie was trash because I didn't understand it.
Yep.
You know, why is she cutting her head off? Like, I don't know.
That was the best scene.
That was great. But that's, yeah. So I'm glad that it wasn't like stupid. I'm glad that it wasn't too pretentious. Like, we're just gonna fuck you guys up. You know, I'm glad that like the average viewer can still appreciate this movie, and I just think all around, just really good job. Really appreciative of horror, still respectful to the original film, but really does its own thing, which is what it needed to do. I mean, we even talked about this, 2 episodes ago? You know, like, if you're going to put a remake out there, love the source. You got to love horror. You got to make it something still a little bit different to where, you know, you're not just competing with the original film. Like, it kind of is its own thing, kind of like what Child's Play did almost. You know, even though some people didn't like that movie, it was different enough to the point where you can kind of appreciate that it went in a different direction in the modern day.
Yep.
You know,
I think that was the most important thing, the direction it went, because this could have been a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been like, oh my god, we accidentally killed Joanne, and it's like sorority girls, and it's like the House on Sorority Row, but the killer's invisible. Yeah. It could have went a fucking stupid route.
Oh, it could have been bad.
I can't wait for the bootleg version of this movie to come out. And not like, you know, when it comes out online on, like, fucking whatever the fuck people used to stream illegal movies.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, another studio making its own version of this movie.
Yeah, like a parody thing.
What are those guys?
Isn't it like... What is it? Atrium? Is that one of them? Or Asylum? Or
Asylum.
Like
it's Asylum.
God.
I hope Asylum makes... Yeah, Asylum, if you're listening, make an Invisible Man ripoff.
They're like the guys who... I literally saw this, like, a ripoff of Paranormal Activity when I worked at...
It was called, like, Paranormal Entity or something?
Paranormal Entity or, like, Paranormal Exorcist or something like that. I was like, Jesus Christ. And people literally, like, came up to me and asked me, "Is this Paranormal Activity?" I'm like, "Do you not know how to read?" It says Paranormal Entity right there. And anyway, they should. That would be hilarious. What if the guy was actually visible the whole time, but we just couldn't see him or something like that? I don't know. Anyway.
You wear glasses, you can see where he is. You take them off, you don't know where he is.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, no one steal that shit from me.
No.
That was just genius.
That was good.
There's an invisible dude in a movie. You can only see him when you put your glasses on.
Isn't that what happened in Scary Movie 2?
You shut up.
No, it's a good idea, Sam. You should make it. And then get sued by Scary, like Kenan Thompson or whoever made the Scary Movie 2. But I did also want to say one quick thing. I do like the way that they made the Invisible Man in this movie, because he was a good villain too.
Yeah.
He was kind of a... I don't want to get too much into the character or anything, but
He was
a
smart.
good villain. Yeah. And just overall really good. I mean, Elizabeth Moss, fantastic performance, you know. And then Oliver Jackson Cohen as Adrian Griffin. Shout out another Easter egg to the original film, which I believe was Jack Griffin, who was the Invisible Man in that one. Aldous Hodge had a good performance. Just, yeah, really good performance all around from everybody. And I can't really say too much more about it. I think we've touched on pretty much everything.
Yeah, man. Go see The Invisible Man, and then once you see it, pre-order it on Amazon. Send me that digital code. I'm just kidding. Just go buy it.
Soliciting at the end of our episode over here. Yeah, I think it's definitely worth checking out and adding to your collection. I think the 4K is going to be awesome. I wonder what kind of special features they're going to have.
Deleted scenes, alternate endings.
If there's a making of, that's going to be sick.
I do want to see that.
Yeah. Like, how'd you actually make him invisible?
I want to know who their cinematographer was.
Yeah. So,
Whoever that is. I know they take direction from the director, but let's be real. Cinematographers, for the most part, they're like, I know how to shoot this perfect. You go have the big shot. It's a swooping shot with the drone. It's going to go from southwest to northeast, 0.4 mile. Put it on the GPS. More than that, shit.
from my experience, that's pretty much exactly how it goes. We actually, on a commercial shoot, we had this, like, lumbering, like, European guy. He didn't have that voice, but I was like, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, bro. Like, great cinematographers are, dude, you know how both of us are, bro. Like, fucking cinematography will make or break a film.
Oh, yeah.
This one was just shot, like, so perfect. Dude, I want to know who it was. I'm going to look it up after this because he fucking deserves some kind of fucking credit for something.
Yeah. The sound design was really good, too,
Sound
actually.
design was
It definitely added to that intensity. I mean, there wasn't anything, like, super memorable in the score or anything like that.
That's
but
my only complaints.
Yeah. I mean,
Score.
I guess so, but I still think the sound design was really good. It did elevate those intense moments.
It did, for
I think
sure.
really well. So shot so well. It was, yeah. It was great. Very good all around. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5, but I mean, I think I could even give it like a 4.5 out of 5. Like, realistically.
I feel you on that.
So that's what I think about it. Go check it out.
No.
Now.
Go now. Go to the theater
go
now.
do it now. But now, guys, that's going to wrap it up here, I think, for episode 96. Let us know what you thought about anything we've discussed today and about The Invisible Man. If you have seen it, we'd be very happy to discuss it with you. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Grave Discussions and on Twitter at GraveDiscSRD, or check out gravediscussions.net where you can check out the latest episode and a whole lot more.
And then make sure you tune in for episode 97 next week on Grave Discussions. Where'd you go? Barnabas is invisible.
Marco.
Hulu.
This has been an SRD production.